Hi everyone, welcome to my little studio. I've just spent the weekend giving it an overhaul and refreshing the space, and I'd love to show you around. So this studio is a converted carport. It's about 3 meters by 4 meters, and I've been working in it for the past few years. But I really needed to make some changes in order to make the space work better for me. So one of the first things I did was take everything out in order to give the space a good clean and to paint the walls. And I used a color called Vivid White because it allows the light to bounce around and it really helps the colors in my abstract paintings to show up. So one of the biggest changes that I made for this space was to bring in a big table. Before this, I had 2 workbenches that ran around the edges of the space in an L shape. And what I found with that was that not only was I working up against the wall, but I couldn't move those tables around. They were very heavy. This is a big table that I can access from 3 sides. So I can really move around and work on many pieces. And I can also move this table. So if I wanted to make more floor space, I could push it up against the wall or even take it out of the studio. So it's a lot more versatile and it's more inviting. I get to look out at the garden, which is over that way, and also just to be able to see people as they come into the space. So behind me here is what I'm calling my feel-good shelf. This shelf is just a piece of ply from the local hardware shop, some brackets that hold it up, and what I'm using it for is to display things that I love. So I'm not so much using it for art supplies, though I do love those, but it's more about plants, candles. I've got my oil diffuser up here, and also some pieces of work that are inspiring me at the moment. So it's an inspiration shelf. So next to that, I have my more functional shelf. So this is an Ivar shelf. It comes from IKEA. They are wonderful because they're affordable and you can also build them up in different ways. They're modular and you can really make it work for your space. And what I'm using this for is mainly for my supplies. So I've got crates, also from IKEA, that fit perfectly on the shelves. In them I have paints. I've also got my varnishing supplies down there. I've got mediums up here. And yeah, anything that I use, but it's not the stuff that I use all the time. And I'll tell you a bit more about where I've put the paints that I use on a more regular basis, so my favorites. So come over here, and this is where I have my favorite paints. So what I've done is I've got some spice racks from IKEA and I'm using them to display my paints so I can easily see what I'm looking for rather than having to rummage through boxes or baskets. So another must-have is a set of drawers, and I've had my eye on these Alex drawers from IKEA for a really long time. And the reason why is because you can store paper in them up to the size of A2. And I do a lot of work on paper. So this is a great way to store not only the paper that I'm going to use, but also my completed pieces. And that has been a challenge for me for a very long time. In fact, many pieces have got ruined in the process of not having a good place to store them. So another thing that I'm loving is a cutlery drawer that I'm using to sort out my mixed media supplies. So I got this in IKEA and I'm using it for my pastels and crayons and watercolors and inks. And I've also got some plastic takeaway containers, and these are great because you can pull them out of the tray and then just place them down on your desk or whatever you're using as your workspace. And then when you're done with them, you can bring them back and pop them in. So I have a few things on my table. I'm trying to keep it to a minimum to keep this place fairly clear for work. But I do have my brushes over here, and I've got a few sort of, I guess, things that I've collected over the years, like mugs that I like, that I'm using to store brushes in. And I also got this little container. This is from Kmart, and I'm just loving things that have compartments. It's really handy for storing things, and these have my paint pens in them, and I do use paint pens a lot, so I have them there, easy to access. Right, enough about the table. The other main type of work I do is working on canvas, and for that I have a dedicated painting wall. So here's a painting that's in progress at the moment, and it's sitting up on my painting wall. And one of the reasons that I use a wall rather than an easel is that it is a bit of a space saver. So when we put this studio together, we actually created a wall, or actually I should say my husband did it because he did it. He made this wall using timber. And because of that, I can actually put a screw or a nail anywhere on this wall, depending on the size of the canvas that I'm working on, and then I'm able to hang it directly onto the wall. But if you didn't have a timber wall, hubby has told me there is a way to get around this. And what you can do is find the studs in your wall, so the timbers within the wall, figure out where they are, and then what you can do is screw in a piece of wood across the length of your wall, and then once you've done that, along that piece of wood you can screw wherever you want to, because it is wood. So you can create a way of hanging your paintings on the wall, and that's super handy. So I'm going to show you how it works. So I've got this canvas and it doesn't have anything on the back, and I'm just going to slide it down the wall, and the top of the canvas or the frame of the canvas is just going to sit on those screws, and it's actually very firm. It's very sturdy and great to work on. And if I wanted to rotate my canvas at any time and slide it down, and then I can work on it either in a portrait orientation or a landscape orientation on this same space on the wall. So thank you for coming into my studio. I hope you have enjoyed this little tour, and maybe you've got some ideas that you can put into practice in your own creative space. What I'll do is I'll link to all the things that I've mentioned so that you can find out more about those if you would like to. So thank you again, and I'm wishing you many happy days painting in your studio.